So internet, if you're like me, you at one point might have seen this lovely video.
Article 4, free inhabitant pursuant to the Articles of Confederation.
Put the camera down for me. Is that if it records, that's fine. But I don't want you holding anything.
No weapons, no weapons. All right, no.
Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do is the same thing.
I get out of the car?
Yes.
No, I'm not getting out of the car.
All
you
right.
can go.
A few moments later.
Call in, tell them I'm a free inhabitant, and find out what that is.
Well, I am going to tow this vehicle, young lady. So you cannot be in this vehicle.
I understand that. So all right, then I'm going to get out of the vehicle and I'm going to walk down to that house because you do not have authority over me.
Few inches later.
Well, you're not free to leave.
You're
going to take the bag off.
No, I'm not.
You're going to take the bag off.
No, I'm not.
Relax your...
Hey! You're raping me. This is rape. This is rape. This is rape.
That lady screaming and her boyfriend are free inhabitants, or as they like to call themselves, sovereign citizens or free men. And boy oh boy internet, are you gonna love some free inhabitants.
He's about to come out of that car.
Yes, he is. Yeah, let's have to spin him. Let's pick up.
Come on, come out of the car.
Out of the car. Again, you're going to do it the easy way or the hard way. Got it. Hey, grab my shit.
Vehicle, did you resist what they were trying to ask you to do?
Absolutely not.
Did you resist their commands?
Absolutely not. Officer B said I may leave with identification.
Are you resisting right there? Their commands?
I'm asking them what they're doing.
How many officers does it take is holding you down right there? You know, based on that compilation of clips, you might be wondering, wow, Diesel, those people are absolutely crazy. And you'd be right, internet. These free inhabitants are definitely crazy. Basically, this sovereign citizen movement is what happens when you take InfoWars and not paying your taxes to the absolute ridiculous extreme. In fact, these people are such fans of not participating in government that they refuse to get license plates for their vehicles or renew their driver's licenses. Some of them even have these cute little fake driver's licenses and license plates, and don't use those because you will be detained. In fact, you'll hear me say this a lot with whatever these people do. It's pretty much a compilation of don't do any of the things that these people do because it's wrong. Obviously, if you're pulled over at a traffic violation, you want to know the best way to avoid a ticket. Just follow the officer's orders. Just do that. Don't resist at all. Just do what they say, right? And if it's a mistake on their part, you get to sue them and you'll never have to work again. It's a great time. You know, and then part of the thing that makes sovereign citizens so incredibly engaging is the fact that they have an overlap with one of my favorite internet groups, the Flat Earthers. So yes, the sovereign citizen movement is in fact a conspiracy theory movement full of doomsday preppers, people that want to live off the grid, and tons of other interesting, strange folk. In fact, you might actually go into the comments and see some real sovereign citizens arguing on why you really shouldn't pay your taxes. Don't listen to them. Unfortunately, you gotta pay as much as you don't like them. So let's hop into the thick of it. What is a sovereign citizen?
You don't have 3 points of identification. You could be trying to kidnap us right now because you're harassing us right now. We're free beings. We're travelers, and you're harassing us right now.
So I think the best place to look for your introduction to sovereign citizens and the free man movement is the FBI, because FBI states sovereign citizens are anti-government extremists who believe that even though they are physically residing in this country, they are separate or sovereign from the United States. As a result, they believe they don't have to answer to any government authority, including courts, taxing entities, motor vehicle departments, or law enforcement. And yes, you heard that right. According to START, the sovereign citizen movement was ranked most highly out of their threats, with 86% of respondents agreeing or strongly agreeing that it was a serious terrorist threat. I find it amazing that the people who don't pay their taxes and drive on the road recklessly are the biggest danger that we're facing in society. This being said, there are actually really real awful people who are sovereign citizens, but we're not going to talk about those today because that should really be a video on its own. But yeah, okay, I will say that these people are obviously an issue. Really, they're more of an issue for their not signaling at, following road rules at all. You're going to often see these guys getting more parking tickets or road violations than committing any horrific atrocities. Most of the time, I just see sovereign citizens supporting really dumb things, you know, and InfoWars, like, I've actually seen, like, vehicles like this. And that's not road legal, sir. For the most part, they are just stupid people that function in normal society, and the group seems to be so large that you've probably walked past a sovereign citizen and had no idea. So that's what the government says sovereign citizens are, but as we all know, the government's out there listening, they have the mind chips in you. So you'll watch one of these sovereign citizen videos and they'll say things like Article 4, free inhabitant, you'll hear things like, the Articles of Confederation. For free inhabitants, they feel that they can only be arrested if there is an injured party, right? So just because you run a stop sign in a school zone, it's not a crime because nobody got hurt. Basically, they'll say, well, I didn't rob anyone, I didn't shoot anyone, so why are you detaining me? And if that's the case, why did you stop for the police officer anyway? Now, if you'll pay attention to what I said a paragraph ago, you'll notice that I said the Articles of Confederation and Article 4, which is the 4th article in the Articles of Confederation, duh. Now, if you're not American, or you didn't pay attention in high school history class, the Articles of Confederation is basically the rough draft of the Constitution. Now, in the Articles of Confederation, they reference Article 4 specifically, and I'm gonna read it back to you. The better to secure and perpetuate mutual friendship and intercourse among the people of different states in this union, the free inhabitants of each of these states, paupers, vagabonds, and refugees. Okay, look, I'm not gonna read this paragraph because it's in italics and it's really big, but you've noticed that it is on screen, so if you're an intellectual, you can take some time to read it, but I'm gonna sum up for you what this means. So yes, this is a very wordy, mouthy piece, but basically what it says is that you should be treated like anybody who resides in that country. So, you know, like, when in Rome, do as the Romans do? Where in that does that excuse you from crimes at all? Like it literally basically says that you'll be treated like any other citizen. So, do tourists who visit a country have a different set of rules to follow when they're in that country than the people who are in that country? Like, an officer wouldn't know from a distance, like, who's a tourist and who's a local. Like, you're expected to follow the same laws as everyone else. Like, it seems really simple. I don't know how this is conflated with, like, not following road traffic rules or laws. Also, not to point any fingers, but I know a certain someone who gives off a lot of free man-like tendencies. I'm not saying anything, but if there was anyone, I bet it would be them. So that's basically what a free man is. They believe, based on the 4th article of the Articles of Confederation and a few other different laws that don't apply to any of the videos you'll ever see of them, that's what they are and their logic for the ruling. But you know, how does a free man really operate in the scene, in the field, you know? And will I ever run into a free man? And you know what? Honestly, I can't see the average person running into a free man unless they run into you. Because, you know, man, back in my home country, we just don't have stop signs. But where sovereign citizens actually do pose a really serious problem is, of course, in American policing. They didn't end up on the list that they've ended up on from the FBI without good reason for that. Obviously, these people are wasting a lot of time by not paying their taxes, and they're wasting a lot of people's time by not getting their licenses renewed and just making a whole mess of the policing system. You know, if you're an officer and you're working 12-hour shifts, if you had to take out 3 hours of your day to go pull some yahoo out of a car, I'd assume you wouldn't be happy. Even better than that, the language that they often use with police officers just makes for extra paperwork. They always threaten to sue the officers because they're being detained or they're being kidnapped. And yes, they think when they're handcuffed and put in the back of a police car for running away from the police that they're actually being kidnapped under unlawful circumstances.
What crime have I been suspected of committing?
What's that?
What crime have I been suspected of committing?
You have no brake lights.
Is that a crime, officer?
It is. Give me your license.
According to People versus Battle, traffic infractions are not crimes.
Give me your license.
Unless there's been a crime committed, officer, I'm not showing my ID.
Been committed, and I need to see your driver's license.
Where's the corpus delicti?
I need to see your driver's license.
Is there an injured party, sir?
I'm
I'm not asking you.
Is there an injured party?
I'm not asking you.
Is there an injured party, officer?
A wonderful thing that tends to end up getting sovereign citizen videos on the internet is them getting completely ripped out of the vehicle that they're in. And basically, here's what happens when you say, "Officer, I'm not getting out of the vehicle. I didn't do anything wrong."
You're damaging the property, and this isn't even my property. Please. Oh my God!
You know, the officer gave you an order, and the reason you have to step out of the police car when the cop tells you is due to this court case, Pennsylvania versus Mims. But nobody wants to know the details of the case. That's not why you came to the video. But that is technically the case that would say why you have to, you know, get out of your car. Anyway, if you're being troublesome, you know, the cop's gonna call for backup, and this is where it's going to get interesting, right? So most of the time, if you're a sovereign citizen, you're going to roll up your window. That's the first thing you're going to do. And then it's going to escalate from there. You know, obviously this depends on the amount of cops in the area and if they're not doing anything, you know, but what you're going to see is that a lot of people are probably going to show up to your vehicle, and it's going to get really, really chaotic very fast. Basically, it can go from one extra guy to a whole Rainbow Six team standing in front of you, getting ready to break open the window and rip you out from your vessel. Like, for example, in the clip that you're probably seeing on screen right now, there's a guy who's pointing a gun at them, and two people have window breakers on each side, the little pen window breakers. So you hold them back, then push, or they just spring-load it in. They break into the window, and then, boom, you're getting dragged out of your car by a 180-pound man named Steve. And again, in the last paragraph, I teased something, and I called the car a vessel. And there's a very particularly interesting reason for that, because sovereign citizens like to use maritime law. Hilariously enough, many sovereign citizens consider themselves captains of their vessels, drivers of their cars, hence vessel. I don't know how a car is like a boat. One has wheels and one's a boat. But hey, man, I've never heard maritime law apply to the ground ever in my life. Anyway, this is where the term road pirate comes from, which is a pejorative that sovereign citizens like to use to call police road pirates, because they are kidnapping them from their vehicles and taking their vehicles or vessels away from them. Usually a captain goes down with his sinking ship. Unfortunately, very infrequently do sovereign citizens go down with their ship. You know, honestly, I think we should change the name from car to vessel. Like, just getting in a vessel sounds more cryptic. Like, saying I'm going to board my vessel is a lot more interesting than saying, oh, I'm gonna go drive my 2002 Subaru Legacy. One of those things is interesting, the other is just a car. So I went on a quote-unquote safari to find some sovereign citizens, and they're a very disparate group. You'll find a couple of them littered about different forums. Obviously, the first place I went to was a Doomsday Prepper forum, and boy oh boy is this interesting. Anyway, a user referred to sovereign citizens and their tax evasion, and for everybody's hot takes on this said Doomsday Prepper forum, and hot takes they gave. Anyone know anything about these guys? Anti-government USA extremists who don't pay taxes and ignore requirements like social security cards and driver's licenses, then referencing a 60 Minutes episode about the movement of the free man. Anyway, because this user was talking about tax evasion, someone who evades their taxes responded. Like I asked you in the other post you bail from, show us the exact law that requires individual to pay their taxes on their earned income. If you can do this, you'll be the only person in America to date that can provide the exact law that requires this. I'll be waiting, and some other guy will pay you a lot of money if you can do this. No cults, pal. Just smart individuals who know the real truth. Something lemmings are incapable of understanding. Anti-government, there you go, spinning like a top. Being all sovereign is being all American, buddy. Lemmings don't get it. Usually I hear the term sheep, so lemmings is a nice change of pace, much more exotic. Anyway, this whole like rant goes on and on and on, but basically he calls him a lemming and then asks for someone to provide proof where you have to pay your taxes. That's a good point. What an intellectual. I've never read the law about why I have to pay my taxes, or if there is a law that I have to pay my taxes. Maybe people have just been doing it because someone said so, and they're just not intelligent enough to avoid paying their taxes. U.S. Code, Section 7201, attempt to evade or defeat tax. Any person who willfully attempts in any manner to evade or defeat any tax imposed by this title, or the payment therefore shall, in addition to any other penalties, be provided by the law, and guilty of felony. And yep, that looks like the law. That looks like the exact law we were looking for. You know, man, I think that's a nice thing that we're finally able to figure out that there is a law that you have to pay your taxes. You don't need to be a legal genius to, like, follow really basic functions of society. I don't get that. You know, this ultimately raises the question of why are sovereign citizens so completely unhinged? And I don't really know. Like, again, on this forum, I saw a lot of users talking about how back in the good old days, their dad had them build a fallout shelter for the Cuban Missile Crisis. And then they decided to go build a militia and train in the mountains. Ah yes, that's hinged for when the tyrannical governments appear. I get the preparedness. I love freedom. I also think you should be allowed to have guns to protect you from tyranny. But it sounds a little weird when you go live in a shack in the woods off the grid on your own solar grid, collecting your own rainwater, so that way you can create a paramilitary group. Like I don't know, just a little bit extreme for my taste, but maybe that's just because I'm lazy and I don't want to have to go searching for my food or doing things like figuring out how to do my own plumbing. What can I say? I love the modern conveniences of 2019. I don't think I can leave those behind. Sovereign citizens are really interesting because trying to figure out, like, where this idea came from was really difficult. There's not really a determined one place, ground zero, where this idea came about, but it definitely became a lot more popular in recent years. Anyway, if you see a sovereign citizen on the road, make sure to give them a salute, and then call your local officer, because they probably haven't gotten their vehicle registered. Man, nothing's better than a vessel that's not up to safety regulations. I don't have a seatbelt, but at least when I fly out of my vehicle, I know that my government had no role in it. You know, I found out about the sovereign citizen things when I was looking at Patty Mayo and then Donut Operator. So him and a couple other, like, actual cop YouTubers do really great videos about this, and it's really funny, actually, especially Donut Operator. I love his stuff. But I felt it was interesting that there are these people that commit the most weird crimes and act in the strangest ways. There's tons of sovereign citizen videos online. I've definitely featured a couple in this video, but, like, there's so many of these. It's really strange. And, you know, where we talk about a lot of other groups and how cringy and weird they are, I don't think sovereign citizens get talked about as much. So I figured it was interesting, and I thought I'd expose you guys to that. If you like this group of people and you'd like to see me cover other people, tell me what you'd like to cover. I've heard a lot of people say, hey, look at the true crime community, and it's definitely on the list. But tell me what other communities you'd like me to look at, and I will get back to you and maybe do a video on it. Anyway, guys, my name is FPS Diesel. You can find me on Twitter at FPS Diesel and over on Instagram at FPS Diesel. I had some agita there. Alright, get out of here. It's hot. I want to take off my sweater. I'm dying. I have to go board my vessel and go to the nourishment store.